Vice President J.D. Vance in Wisconsin today demanding that Governor Evers turn over SNAP data as well as information on Wisconsin's voter rolls. We will get to that in just a second. Welcome in to the Thursday edition of the Dan O'Donnell Show. If you would like to join us, 414-799-1130 is our adventknows.com talk and text line. You can also reach us toll free, 1-800-838-9476. Email me directly, dod@iheartmedia.com. Find me on social media. We are streaming the show live via the DanoCam at Dan O'Donnell Show on X, Facebook.com/Dan O'Donnell Show. And you can also find us on Instagram. We are at Dan O'Donnell Show there, as well as, well, pretty much everywhere. YouTube as well. We are streaming. Watch the show in glorious high definition right here on the Dan O'Donnell Show. Let's get right to it and get to all of the stories that we are following right now. Producer Eric, I don't have access to our button bar here. I'm not exactly sure what's going on. We will attempt to get us into the show. Well, hold on one sec. Let's try to get this. It just wouldn't be. I mean, I suppose I should be thankful that the only technical glitch we're having today is the fact that I can't get the stuff that I need to do a radio show. At least we have a radio show that's on the air, which apparently we didn't yesterday. So without any further ado, let's get right into it. Vice President J.D. Vance, indeed, in Plover in western Wisconsin today, taking President Trump's message on the economy on the road.
I want to talk about the stakes coming up in November because it feels like this election in November is very far away. But if anything, the State of the Union should have showed us that we cannot give power back to congressional Democrats.
Much more coming up in just a second. Then at 5:06, Congressman Derek Van Orden joins us to talk about touring the Point Precision machining facility with the vice president today. Now, earlier today, Vance held a joint press conference in Washington with CMS Administrator Dr. Oz to halt more than $250 million in quarterly Medicaid funding over fraud concerns, giving Governor Tim Walz 60 days to submit to a corrective action plan or face even further cuts. Indirect talks between the U.S. and Iran concluding in Geneva today. Omani mediators report significant progress made in those discussions. There'll be another round of them continuing in Vienna next week. Democrats in the Wisconsin legislature are circulating an assisted suicide bill. We'll have the details coming up in the 4 o'clock hour, and then we will provide exclusive new details about the criminal charges filed against a Wisconsin assemblywoman. Are they even constitutional? We will dive into it coming up at about 4:15. Right now, the big story is in Plover, Wisconsin. Congressman Van Orden touting President Trump's tax cuts in a joint appearance with the vice president.
We got the one big, beautiful bill done. 88% of seniors will pay zero income tax on their Social Security. 88%. Those are the people that built this nation. They built the building we're standing in now. They built your home. They built your school. And we must honor our seniors. We have to. The folks that are working on the shop floor, which is absolutely amazing, no tax on overtime. Why should you pay the federal government a cut of your overtime? You should not. That's in the one big, beautiful bill. We are a pub culture in the state of Wisconsin. When we go down to the bar and we're watching the Packers games or the Brewers, you know who's helping us? Our servers. No tax on their tips.
Obviously, Congressman Van Orden very fired up. He faces a fierce battle for re-election in the 3rd Congressional District as Democrats have listed him among their top targets to flip the House of Representatives. He will again face, very likely, Rebecca Cook, who he beat in 2024, less than 2 years ago. But obviously, this is a very different electorate, and we will discuss that and much more with the congressman coming up at about 5:06. Vice President Vance gave a fiery speech focusing, of course, on the economy and sharing President Trump's economic message, but also talking about all of the fraud that was uncovered in Minnesota and why that directly impacts people in Wisconsin.
You get poorer, your tax dollars go to Somali fraudsters, and worst of all, you've got special needs kids in American communities that we ought to be helping, and instead of helping them, we're helping fraudsters who don't have the problem to begin with. That is a scandal, and it's something that Joe Biden and congressional Democrats promoted with their open border, encouraged it, and funded it. Now, I'm here to tell you that the job of your government is not to open your borders and allow fraudsters to come in and take advantage of you. The job of your government is to shut the border and shut off the fraud, and that's exactly what we're doing in the Trump administration.
Now, the vice president did take questions from reporters, and one of them, Matt Smith of Channel 12, as well as the statewide political show Up Front, asked a very pointed one. Wisconsin is actually suing the federal government because it does not want to turn over its data on SNAP food stamp recipients or voter roll data. And Vice President Vance had a remarkably pointed answer to that refusal.
That is absurd. Ask yourself a question. Why would the government of Wisconsin not want to help us kick fraud off of the welfare rolls and kick fraud off of the voter rolls? And the only answer I can possibly come up with is because they like to cheat. There's no other real explanation. Now, the governor might say, in fact, I'm sure the governor would say this. Let me just be charitable to those who disagree with us. The governor would say, well, there isn't as much fraud as the Trump administration believes there is. Well, even if that's true, and it's not, but even if that's true, let's get what fraud there is off the voter rolls and off the welfare rolls. You know the right number of people who should be illegally voting in American elections? 0. You know the number of people who should be fraudulently collecting food stamps? 0. I want those benefits to exist for the people who need them. The only way to promise that is to get the fraud out of the system, and that's what we're trying to do in the Trump administration. No more fraud, no more corruption. It shouldn't be hard.
Now, since Vice President Vance was going over the numbers that should be illegally voting, 0, the number of people who should have incorrect information on voter rolls, 0, let's get into the numbers that actually do have incorrect data on Wisconsin's voter rolls. According to Dan Lennington of the Great Wisconsin Institute for Law and Liberty, there are 41,784 names on Wisconsin's voter rolls that have something significantly wrong with them. 24,733 people on the voter rolls have a name mismatch, meaning that the name that is given for the information corresponding to that name is just incorrect. 11,174 people have absolutely no driver's license record that can be cross-checked with the Department of Motor Vehicles, DMV, but they still appear on Wisconsin's voter rolls. 3,110 people have a date of birth mismatch, meaning that their date of birth that might be listed on a driver's license is not the same date of birth that is listed on the voter record for that person. There are 2,069 people who simply have no match whatsoever, no DMV record that can be matched with someone who has a voting record. A name and a date of birth mismatch, 680 people. Just totally invalid data, there are 18. And nobody actually knows, Lennington adds, just how many illegal aliens or other non-citizens are on Wisconsin's voter rolls. This is a major, major problem. Not only that, Wisconsin is absolutely in violation of 2 different federal laws requiring them to oversee or to turn over data that they oversee, data that they control, to the federal government. The first is the National Voter Registration Act of 1993, or NVRA, which requires states to maintain accurate and current voter registration lists for all federal elections, including making, quote, reasonable efforts to remove ineligible voters. According to that statute, quote, each state shall maintain for at least 2 years and shall make available for public inspection and, where available, photocopying at a reasonable cost, all records concerning the implementation of programs and activities conducted for the purpose of ensuring the accuracy and currency of official lists of eligible voters. For 33 years, that has not been particularly controversial, that those lists are to be made available not just to the public, but also to the federal government. The federal government, i.e. the Congress, actually does have final control over how federal elections are conducted. Yes, time, place, and manner in the Constitution is, in fact, given to the discretion of state legislatures, but overseeing that is the Congress. The Congress, save for changing how state legislatures pick senators back in the day, back at the time of the framing of the Constitution, there was no direct election of United States senators. Senators were actually chosen by each state legislature, if you can believe that. But the Congress, outside of the manner of choosing senators, can actually, and this just makes sense, we do need to have uniform elections for the Congress. We do need to have uniform elections for the presidency of the United States. Could you imagine if Wisconsin decided to hold its presidential election in October? Say Minnesota wanted to hold its in July. Obviously, there needs to be uniformity, and there also needs to be uniformity, as it was envisioned under the NVRA, in how voter lists are essentially regulated. Each state does not have the right to cite its own privacy statutes, which is what our esteemed Attorney General Josh Cole is attempting to do. Say, hey, look, we can't turn over this data to you because we have state privacy laws. Nevertheless, notwithstanding the fact that there are, in fact, privacy protections built into not just the NVRA for the handling of this data, but also the Civil Rights Act of 1960. Would you believe Governor Tony Evers, the liberal in good standing, and his Attorney General Josh Cole, also a liberal in good standing, are in open violation of the Civil Rights Act of 1960? Quote, any record or paper required by Section 20701 of this title to be retained and preserved shall, upon demand in writing by the Attorney General or his representative directed to the person having custody, possession, or control of such record or paper, be made available for inspection, reproduction, and copying at the principal office of such custodian by the Attorney General or representative. This demand shall contain a statement of the basis and the purpose therefor. What that means in plain English is that the Attorney General, not of Wisconsin, not of Minnesota, not of any state, but of the United States of America, can at any point demand that voting records be turned over to the federal government. Now, why would this be enshrined in the Civil Rights Act of 1960? Well, the answer is pretty self-explanatory, because you had a whole lot of Democrat-controlled states in the South that didn't want black people voting, because those black people had a tendency to not vote for the Southern Dixiecrat racist Democrats who wanted to ensure that Jim Crow laws continued unabated. So in the Civil Rights Act of 1960, the federal government said, hey, wait a second, we need to make sure that you're actually in compliance with the 14th Amendment of the United States Constitution. We actually need to make sure that you are allowing all people to vote. And since we have pretty good reason to believe that a whole lot of these Democrat-controlled southern states aren't doing that, we're going to need compliance. And now the Democrat-controlled states aren't trying to keep black people from voting. They're trying to get as many ineligible voters onto the rolls as possible so that they can be used for any nefarious purpose. It is very easy when you have a name on the voter rolls, especially if there is some sort of address. It doesn't even need to be a legitimate address, but if there is an address attached to that name with mail-in balloting, it is very easy to simply get someone listed as, say, oh, I don't know, indefinitely confined to their homes, and a ballot permanently sent to to that address, whether or not a ballot is requested for each individual election or not. And the best part of all, you don't even need to show a photo ID. The ballot just automatically keeps coming. Now, the Evers administration is also refusing to turn over SNAP data. Could that be part and parcel of widespread welfare fraud? Bottom line is we don't know because they're refusing to allow an investigation into the data.
Restoring your home or business to its natural beauty is our only business. We are Wisconsin's most trusted carpet cleaner for over 75 years.
Edelman Carpet Furniture and Drapery Cleaning.
It's Edelman again. Edelman.
Jay here again for my friends at Semperfi Roofing. The Wisconsin winter's especially hard on the roof of your home. The folks at Semperfi want you to keep an eye out for signs of winter roofing problems. Icicles hanging from your gutters, uneven snowmelt on your roof, or water stains on your ceiling. If you see any of these, don't wait. Call the roofing experts at Semperfi. See, unlike a lot of roofers in the area, Semperfi doesn't shut down during the winter. They know your roof problems can't wait until spring. In fact, they can be at your home within 24 hours and do a free 21-point inspection, diagnose the issue, and recommend a solution. And if it's time for a new roof, their highly trained installation teams will install it perfectly the first time, clean up after themselves, and leave your home and yard nicer than they found it. So if you see signs of winter roofing problems, don't wait. Set up your free no-obligation roof inspection and estimate today. 262-600-2910, 262-600-2910, or online at semperfiroofing.com.
We keep you safe, warm, and dry. Semperfi.
You ever have a slow shower drain where the water rises until you're standing in a murky, bubbly, hairy...
I got it, and thank you for painting that vivid picture of the ankle soup.
Yeah, up to your ankles, and you're tempted to pour all that goop that smells like industrial citrus down the drain.
Which could wreck your pipes. Why not call Capital instead? For only $49, Capital will send out a pro and get your drain flowing.
Stop living with a clog and start living with the flow. Call Capital today.
Call CapitalCares.com.
Let me share Brian's story. He's in Alabama, and he wrote in, he said, Glenn, after taking Relief Factor for just 3 weeks, at least 90% of my pain is gone. My pain had started to limit me at work and at home, and I am amazed at the relief that I have gotten. Those are Brian's own words, and they speak volumes about what Relief Factor can do. And I've seen that kind of transformation in myself, and hearing Brian's experience reinforces why I take endorsing Relief Factor so seriously. Before I started taking Relief Factor myself, I was losing hope that I could ever have a normal life again. My hands were in so much pain. It's created by doctors, 100% drug-free product using 4 key ingredients. It supports the body's natural inflammatory response. Hundreds of thousands of people have ordered Relief Factor, and like Brian and me, over 2/3 of these people go on to order more month after month. So don't wait. If you're dealing with pain, launch your 3-week quick start and see what Relief Factor can do for you. Call 800-4RELIEF or go to relieffactor.com. Don't wait anymore. Feel what it's like to be out of pain. 1-800-4RELIEF.
Make News Talk 1130 WISN your #1 preset on our free iHeartRadio app. Powered by Gruber Law.
One call, that's all.
Injured?
Remember, one call, that's all.
Welcome back to the Dan O'Donnell Show. It is a tour de force of truth, the sort of truth that you used to get from the rest of the media, but now, sadly, you only really get here. Coming up in the 4 o'clock hour, we are going to dive into an extremely controversial piece of legislation that the Democrats are now circulating. It is a proposed bill that, as long as Republicans control the legislature, has absolutely no chance of passing. But it would legalize assisted suicide in this state. Doctor-assisted suicide is, of course, a highly controversial topic. We are going to dive into it. Essentially, what the bill would do is to allow terminally ill people, people who have been given about 6 months or less to live, to, with a doctor, end their own lives. This is just bad legislation, quite frankly. We will dive into that coming up in the 4 o'clock hour. Right now, Governor Tony Evers does not want, under any circumstances, to turn over voter roll data or any data from SNAP food share benefits lists. And the state assembly actually just passed legislation last week to try to force the governor to release SNAP data to the federal government. The federal government obviously has a vested interest in making sure that money is not going to fraudsters. In fact, a couple of weeks ago, in early February, I believe, there was a massive SNAP fraud case involving a guy from Milwaukee who's originally from heaven knows where. I was not able to verify his citizenship status, naturally. He owned a corner store, and he was running a $1.6 million food share fraud. It was a SNAP benefit fraud. He was essentially selling people food stamp. He was buying people's food stamps for much less than they were worth, and then he was billing the federal government for the full value. He was then taking the money that he got from this scam and going to the Gucci store and Nordstrom to buy things for himself. It was just your classic case of fraud. Now, would you not want to know just how many little corner stores are doing this? Would you not want to know, as a taxpayer, just how your money is being misspent or actually being stolen from you through fraud? You would probably want to know that, which would raise a very interesting question. Why is it that Governor Evers is intent on violating federal law in refusing to turn over this data? And yes, like his refusal to turn over voter roll data, this too violates federal law. Food stamps are under the auspices of the Department of Agriculture. So the Secretary of Agriculture has an immense amount of power over how the SNAP program is implemented. And the Food and Nutrition Act of 2008, codified at 7 U.S.C. Section 2020, could not possibly be clearer. All records and the entire information systems in which records are contained shall be made available for inspection and audit by the Secretary, subject to data and security protocols agreed to by the state agency and the Secretary. Not only that, if a state refuses to turn over that data, as Wisconsin has repeatedly refused to do, then the Secretary is actually authorized to turn the matter over to the United States Attorney General, who can then sue to demand compliance, and continued non-compliance, even after a lawsuit is filed, notice is given, and so forth. They can then withhold funds. They can then even kick a state out of the SNAP program entirely and say, okay, you want to not allow us to examine your data? You have control of the data. It's now your data, and it's also totally your food stamp program. Good luck paying for it all. Obviously, what we saw in Minnesota was the extreme example of a state not only refusing to turn over data, which it is, and oh, by the way, the federal government has already begun withholding funds. Just wait, there's going to, of course, there is going to be a federal court injunction stopping the federal government from withholding the $250 million that it just started to withhold from Minnesota because reasons. Obviously, the injunction will get lifted, and the federal courts will obviously side with the Trump administration. It's a well-worn legal strategic pattern for Democrats in the second Trump administration. They simply sue. They go to friendly left-wing federal judges who then issue nonsensical injunctions that, of course, are not based on any sort of constitutional precept or any sort of federal law, but it's just designed to slow the Trump administration down so they can't do in the short term what it is that they want to do. In other words, Wisconsin is directly violating two different, actually three different, the Civil Rights Act, the National Voter Registration Act of 1993, as well as the 2008 statute, the Food and Nutrition Act, which essentially modernized the food stamp program in their refusal, their steadfast refusal to comply with federal demands to simply turn over the lists. And as Vice President Vance said, what possible reason could you have to not want to turn over the voter roll list? What possible reason could you have to not want to turn over food stamp lists when there are, and I should be perfectly clear about this, because the argument that the Evers administration has been making as it joined multi-state lawsuits to try to stop the federal government from getting access to its voter roll and SNAP benefit data, they're saying that, well, this violates state privacy laws. Okay, well, first of all, state privacy laws do not trump federal law. This is the Constitution's supremacy clause. Federal law always trumps state law. If there is a conflict between state law and federal law wins. Constitution says so. Nothing you can do about that. Not only that, there are protections for voter roll data as well as SNAP food stamp assistance information. People who are on SNAP, it's actually in the statute. It is in the Food Assistance Act of 2008 that there are procedural safeguards for people's data. Data isn't just your personal information isn't just out there. It's not as though you're going to have your social security number and your driver's license number just out there. This is the same sort of paranoid fear mongering that Democrats had. Remember when Elon Musk and Doge during the earliest days of the Trump administration last year were going in and attempting to find all of this fraud that we're still sort of uncovering. Democrats were saying, oh my gosh, Elon Musk has access to my social security data. Yes, please terrify the boomer libs that Elon Musk, the richest man in the world, who's probably going to be a trillionaire by the end of 2026, he definitely wants your social security check for $2,000. Vice President Vance in Plover today also waded into significant controversy here in Wisconsin over data centers. We'll dive into that when the Dan O'Donnell Show returns.
I'm attorney Tom Grieve, here to tell you about Grieve Civil Law. There's a lot of things in life we put off for far too long. Going to the doctor or the gym or the dentist. We know we should do it, but there's always something else more urgent. Estate planning cannot be put off. Life is unexpected. Have you thought about what your family would go through if you died without a will? Probate is stressful, time-consuming, and costly. It can cause family disputes and resentment. Is that what you want your legacy to be? Don't procrastinate when it comes to your family's future. Protect them from chaos and confusion. Don't let your legacy be the mess you left them with. You probably hear a lot of ads that say, time is running out, don't wait. It's a marketing gimmick. We all know there will be another sale soon. When it comes to estate planning, time is literally running out. Plan today and have peace of mind tomorrow. Don't gamble with your life's work. Don't gamble with your family's future. GrieveCivilLaw.com, because time is running out.
Do you love the way your home looks? Hi, Colleen from Tri-County Contracting. When you pull into the driveway, do you think, yes, this is my style and how I want my home to look? If not, we can help. We want you to love your home again. We do everything on the exterior of your home: roofing, siding, windows, doors, and gutters. We will help you design your home to fit your style. If you'd like to take your time looking at roofing and siding, there's lots of helpful tools on our website or in our new Berlin showroom to help you create. If you want help designing or just someone to bounce ideas off of, we would love to have you meet with our design consultant, Jenny. She will meet with you and turn pictures of your home into design renderings. Imagine driving up to your home and loving it. Let's transform your home into the home you've always wanted. It all starts with a call or a visit to TriCountyContractingWI.com. Roofing, siding, and windows that will make you love your home again. Tri-County Contracting.
Ever wonder what it takes to feel truly wealthy and financially comfortable? Schwab asked Americans that question, and most said at least $2 million. But here's the thing, your number might be different. And that makes sense because your dreams, travel, retirement, and the legacy you want to leave are unique to you. That's why you need advice that's just as personal. The team at Annex Wealth Management is ready to listen and help you build a plan that fits your life. Click the Get Started button at annexwealth.com.
Here's why. I'm attorney Werner Adam Rice of Warshevsky Law and licensed medical doctor Werner Adam Rice of Warshevsky Law. Being an MD and an attorney has allowed me to contribute powerful preparation for trial from day one in countless cases. I review medical evidence as it is discovered in the cases Warshevsky represents. Knowing the law and medicine allows me to see things an attorney might miss or that a doctor doesn't realize matter. For Warshevsky and our clients, my expertise has allowed us to see and prosecute forged and altered documents by doctors. I prepare medical expert witnesses in a way few attorneys can, and I'm a scientist. In one case, I proved negligence working with a medical examiner, creating an anatomic clay model of a deceased client. I've contributed to the Warshevsky firm winning many multi-million-dollar lawsuits, including the largest settlement ever awarded in Milwaukee County. Injured? It is about the money. Warshevsky.com, 414-276-4970.
What can Everlast Structures do for us?
The neighbors had Everlast build a hobby building for them. John said they designed the building so that their camper and boat will fit inside and enough room inside that his wife has an office space incorporated into the design. They went with a climate control package and have heated concrete floors. There's even a bathroom in their building.
With all that extra space, we can finally get organized.
Well, I'll give Everlast Structures a call right now.
Need more storage, a place for your hobbies, or a year-round climate-controlled utility building? We are Wisconsin's top post frame builder with over 15 years of experience in the post frame and residential construction industry. Our expertise lies in designing, supplying, and building your project seamlessly. We listen to our customers, understanding their goals and requirements while thinking about the future. Our post frame structures are not only built for your current needs, but engineered for tomorrow's evolving demands. Everlast Structures are designed to enhance, built to endure. Call today to start your dream build with Everlast Structures.
Why work with several sales reps that don't work for you, drinking their company's Kool-Aid, only to be able to sell what their company has to offer? You'll get biased opinions and probably not a very good deal. When it comes to local advertising, a lot of business owners do this. It takes a lot of time and will cost you more for your advertising than it has to. Let us work for you. We know all the rates for all media. This keeps everybody honest, and when you place the volume of advertising we do, it means you get great deals. Anderson-Smith.com. We help small business advertisers get better results. We'll make your ads potent, memorable, and effective. Whether it's radio, TV, billboards, or digital, our understanding of the market and long-standing relationships are unmatched. Anderson Smith represents a substantial amount of advertising billing, which will benefit you in getting much more for your ad dollar. Our compensation model is designed to make it affordable for businesses like yours to use us. And we hold on to our clients because what we do works, and they trust us. Anderson-Smith.com. We help small business advertisers get better results.
This is Special Agent Regal, Special Agent Bradley Hall.
In 2018, the FBI took down a ring of spies working for China's Ministry of State Security.
The Sixth Bureau podcast is a story of the inner workings of the MSS and how one man's ambition and mistakes opened its vault of secrets.
Listen to The Sixth Bureau from Bloomberg Podcasts on America's #1 podcast network, iHeart.
Follow the Sixth Bureau and start listening on the free iHeart Radio app today.
All right, for those who are watching via the Dano Cam, we're going to have to end this stream a little early today just because just way too many technical